I'll see you later.
I did. But now here is one more. Okay, looks like we've got YouTube on. Yeah. Yeah, why don't we do that?
You want this or that?
I don't care. Just where I sit.
Just sit. This side.
That's fine.
Hi, Stan and Clara.
Hello, we're back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess we're early. 6:03.
Well, your sermon gave us a lot to think about today. Are we muted?
No, we're not. I unmuted it. I thought we were gonna.
I think you spoke to me. Oh, okay.
Maybe if that symbol would be muted, but I don't know.
Okay, let's just leave things. Because Rabbi heard you before. When you said we were early, so
No, I said we were early.
yeah, but he heard you.
Oh, that's kind of big when there's not many pictures there.
Hmm?
It's large when there's not that many pictures there.
So now, oh, I don't have my picture on.
I can see myself.
Okay, so can you hear me?
Bonnie,
Yes.
your hair looks very nice.
I have a ponytail.
Well, I wasn't looking at that. Bonnie looks nice.
Oh, thank you. It's just about ready to be cut.
I'm overdue.
Me too. By about 5 months.
Yeah.
So, David, I'm getting a delayed.
So yours
So,
is delayed?
so it's delayed like it's on YouTube.
Okay, let's checking 1, 2. Wait a minute. I've got to change this now. Check 1, 2, 1, 2. Check 1, 2, 1, 2.
I'm not hearing you here. I hear you in the room.
Check 1, 2, 1, 2. Bonnie, what are you hearing?
I'm hearing you in the room. I'm not hearing you through here. Do you hear me through the mic here?
Yeah, so I think that we have to exchange this. So let's try this.
Are you changing? Okay. So if I want to participate, I'll come over to you as well.
Let's test this. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Okay, Stan and Clara, can you hear me okay?
Now we can.
Okay. All right, I'm inviting everybody else in who was in the waiting room. Oh, okay, so let's do that.
Hi, Helga.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello, Stan.
Jordan,
Bye-bye.
I missed your appeal.
Yes.
Lorraine.
Jordan, this is Phyllis, and I missed your appeal today.
Yes, everybody did.
I was wondering what you had in store for us. I see it was nothing.
Rabbi,
Yes.
can you, I wanted to let you know that your sermon before the Yizka service gave me a lot to think about. You know, I really, I like it when it challenges me and you know, about choosing how we remember our parents, etc. And no, it was thought provoking.
Thank you, Clara. Good to get the feedback.
Rabbi, you can
Yes.
see that I invited Miriam Alperin to
Hi,
this.
Miriam.
She's maybe her name is here. Maybe she's not connected yet, but
Okay, good. I'm glad she's going to join us. You'll have to warn me the next time. I want to find that picture I have of her when when I was about 5 years old.
Oh my.
well,
Hey, there's Charlene.
Charlene.
Hi, Charlene.
Yeah. Who's that? Jody next to her?
Okay.
Yeah. Gallery. So you can see. It's okay.
Too easy.
If the rabbi says to mute it, I'll put you on mute.
Hi, Jody.
Hello.
Hi, Charlene.
Hi.
So for the first 45 minutes, you don't have to be muted. We're going to chat.
Okay. All right, Mom. There you go.
So we'll begin chatting. We can start chatting now, but we'll officially begin chatting in 3 minutes.
This is unofficial.
Right, the unofficial chat.
I don't need my glasses on for this, right? I don't have to read anything.
No, I don't think you're
Hi,
reading anything.
Charlene, hi. Good to see you.
Hi, who's that?
It's Phyllis and Stan saying hello.
Oh, hi.
Hello.
Hi, Phyllis and Stan. It's Miriam, but I don't have my picture on.
Hi.
Hi, Miriam.
Do you want it
Well,
like this, or you
whenever
see
you
everybody?
want.
Yeah, she wants to see
Yeah.
everybody.
Are you doing
No,
like
no.
this?
There,
No, she
hi.
wants to see
No,
everybody.
but she can see everybody.
No,
Hi.
there's gonna be more people popping.
Hi, Judy.
How's she gonna see everybody if she won't be able? No, I would put it the other way.
Oh, Clara and Stan.
Hi.
I think the other way
Hi,
is
how
better.
are you?
Fine.
Good.
How was your trip in?
Oh, no.
Okay, now good. Huh? Okay.
What trip?
Oh, the sun
I
is a
thought that
good
was
thing.
Carol
No,
and
everybody's-
Stan Rosenbluth.
They're in their
Clara and
homes.
Stan.
Everybody's at home.
We're,
There's Miriam.
yeah, we're in Rio Grande.
We're on the screen.
Hi,
Yeah.
Shoshana. Hi, Rabbi.
Hi, Miriam. How nice to see you again.
Thank you.
Zoe, no. Shh.
And we have Gladys here, and Shoshana is here. Our president, Jordan, is here. The Semanskys. Helga, hi. Schroeder's, the Loomises. We were starting with a real nice group here. The Rosenbluths coming from up north.
Told you.
Who else?
Mom, they're up north. They're not, they didn't come anywhere. They're at home. Yeah.
Okay, are we supposed to make her believe that? Oh, okay.
Gladys from
Well, when you think of it that way, for this entire
Everybody's at
service,
home.
everybody has
On
been
their
inviting
computers.
everybody else into their home.
And the retired Judy Isikowitz.
Yes, yeah.
Howard, do you want to do this?
Judy, yeah.
How long have you been retired, Judy?
2 weeks today.
Yay.
I'm glad.
Zanas
The
are with
only
us.
thing about retirement is that then you don't have any weekends.
Oh.
It's all a weekend.
Terrible. Our faculty is very upset that we didn't get all those days off. Oh, all right.
Rabbi, also, I mean, hello, everybody, again.
Hi, Janet.
Hi. I have to tell you, after I spoke so highly of our granddaughter's school, I meant no disrespect to your school.
None taken.
Okay,
But thank you for saying that, Janet.
you're welcome.
Shana Tova, Gladys.
Yes, you see Gladys there? Hi, Gladys.
Hi, guys.
So we are going to
Hi.
officially begin at 6:15. I'll tell you what I have planned. I'm going to show you something, and then I'm going to take it off the screen for now, just so that you're aware of what I have planned. So Maimonides
There's Ray.
in the 12th century had some suggestions that he made as to how we should be observing Yom Kippur. And I'm going to be going through these with you. But before we do that, you can see that there's a lot here for us to have a chance to chat about. But before we study this text, I want to go back again to, so how many of you can see a text in front of you?
Raise your hand.
Yeah. Raise your hand. Okay, good. So I'm going to stop sharing it for now because I want to have a chance just to, we haven't had a chance to really just chat. And here we are, the sun is going down in an hour and a quarter, the holiday will be over. I want you to have a chance to open up and to chat, to ask questions, to get a sense of how everybody is doing. We began chatting even before the 6:15 hour, but let's find out how, let's take a temperature of everybody. Let me see by thumbs up, thumbs sideways, or thumbs down. Emotionally, how are you doing right now? Thumbs up, thumbs down, not so good.
That's two different things.
Okay, so I see some sideways. I see nobody did that, so that's nobody is doing that, I don't think. So all right. So how was High Holidays in Zoom fashion, and should we just do this every year?
Yes.
What do you think?
Haven't decided.
Aaron, yeah, Aaron joins me in saying, "Hey, this was fun." So,
Well,
what do you
Rabbi,
think, Gladys? What do you think?
I didn't like it. I mean, it was great for what it was. You know, we had to do it, but it wasn't the same as sitting in a congregation and singing together and being together and responding together and not having parts of the service missing. And you know.
Yeah, it was a good stopgap measure, right? Just for this year. Janet.
It's an improvement over the last 5 years, so we're a lot happier with it.
Great, thank you, Janet. What do you think?
And we are also much happier. Number one, with the rabbi, and the cantor, and of course the community. But today, our daughter just FaceTimed with us right before we were getting online, and she said the silver lining is that you get to be of this COVID is that we get to be together, like we were together with them all of them for Pesach, which is they always go to Canada, and we were all together for Pesach. But I have to tell you that today during Yisker, it was, number one, your sermon was so emotionally fulfilling, and just, how do I explain it? Heartfelt. But the interesting thing is we're sitting here in what was my office, and all the people I'm saying Kaddish for, their pictures are all here. And I'm looking at them while we were saying our prayers, and it was just so extremely emotional and spiritual, and it was just so special. And we got so much. I mean, I can keep going on, I know, but we got so much out of it, and we have been searching and searching for so long for a shul here. Believe me, we've gone through a lot of rabbis, and nobody beats the community here.
Very nice. Thank you, Janet. I never thought of the idea that during Yisker people would be surrounded by the mementos of their lives with the people they're remembering, the pictures and the objects. That is a lovely thought. Thank you. The Schroeders.
Yeah, I wanted to mention that the fact that we weren't in the synagogue for the first time ever makes an appreciation so much different. You don't really know what you miss until you actually miss it. So it does give us an appreciation of what we've had and certainly what we can look forward to.
Thank you.
I'm
Phyllis.
hoping that because of this experience, in the future, when we are back
No,
in the synagogue,
because
we will, in addition to being there personally, have a video feed to those in the community who cannot attend in person.
21 people. Something like that.
Yeah, we're going to talk about, the board is going to talk about how we can sustain the video feed for people who can't get to shul. Absolutely. Thank you. Ray Wazana, I saw your hand up.
Yes, Rabbi, first of all, we enjoyed the service very much. It's not the same, of course, as being there in person, but I am appreciative that we have the opportunity to join together, whether through Zoom or watching. I did want to add something. Our daughter Renee, who's back in Connecticut, she called us around 12:30, I guess, and she said, "Mom, please let the rabbi know that she was able to watch about the last 45 minutes to an hour of the services this morning." And she thought it was so neat. She asked me again, "Are you sure the rabbi and the cantor were not at the actual place?" I said, "No, it's a virtual background, but it sure looks like it." And she wanted you to know how much she appreciated having the opportunity.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Ray. Give her our
welcome.
love. Shoshana.
The rabbi makes me feel very important. Thank you.
Oh, how nice. Well, it's easy because you are important. So I'm glad to hear that. Thank you. Who else has Jordan?
I've been YouTubing around, checking out services all over the country. And in most cases, and in some cases, they are very large, important congregations in their area. The feed has always been simply showing the rabbi and the cantor. And that's the way they're set up. And I imagine that's the way the people want to see it. We are special in that, or I don't say we're unique, but the idea being is in our services, not only do you see the cantor and the rabbi, you see everybody else.
Oh, wow.
Thank you, Jordan. I noticed that too when I was visiting other congregations today. That is unique.
Jordan?
Carol.
Can I ask you, I've been watching your screen. What are the different synagogues you've had behind? We need a virtual tour.
Oh, this is, actually, I've shown this before in black and white. This is a color one of Anshe Sfard in the Garden District in New Orleans. That's where 65 years ago, roughly, my grandfather was president.
Wow. And there were others, weren't there?
One was Beth Israel, where my mother grew up at. When I showed that to my mother, when we were able to Zoom with her in the Jewish home, she thought it was Anshe Sfard only because they were both designed by the same architect. The other place I've shown has been the USOJ in Panama, which was a USO that was built by the Jewish Welfare Board in 1940 to service Jewish personnel, not only in the military, but also the Americans who were working in the Canal Zone.
Ray.
And that's where I was a Jewish lay leader when I was stationed in Panama.
Oh.
Very nice. Ray Wazana.
Not me.
Oh, I saw your hand up. Okay. Stan Rosenbluth.
Yeah, I see Shana and Eric there, so I want to say hello. And they're sitting right over there. And then I wanted to say to Jordan that we saw your office when we went through the Panama Canal. It was still painted gray.
Everybody that goes always looks in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Because it's.
Anybody else want to ask anybody else a question, as long as you're all gathered together here? We've never had such a big crowd for Yom Kippur afternoon's discussion before. This is wonderful.
I'm gonna put that up there. Let me see.
Yes.
Is it me? I have a question about the Hafta.
The Via Hafta?
Yeah. At the end of it, in a Reformed congregation, they add another paragraph. Do you know?
Yeah.
Do you know anything
This
about?
is always, now it's
They
question.
also say
Rabbi.
the second part after the Shema, and I'm saying, well, now that I learned all that,
So we did it this morning, but we didn't do it last night. But there are 3 biblical selections that always follow the Shema. The Via Hafta. Wait a minute. Let me. I'm gonna mute somebody here until they. Okay, I think that'll be better. So there are 3 biblical portions after the Shema. There's the Via Hafta that we're all familiar with. Then there's the V'haya'im Shemoa, which talks about how God will bring rain in its due season. And then the paragraph after that is the one about the tzitzit, where we're commanded to put on tzitzit. And then you have the Micha Mocha after that. So I don't know which one of those you were thinking about. Usually in the evening service, I skip from the Via Hafta to the Micha Mocha.
no, it's nothing that you did. It's just that they are. My question is that they're different in their at the Saturday morning service, for instance, when we say the Vehafta, they always have another paragraph afterward or sentence after it. And then, so I'm just saying in a Reformed congregation, you don't know.
I'd have to see the prayer book to see what you're talking about. We do, it may be the same paragraph that we do, and it just doesn't sound familiar because it might be a different translation. You may have to later take a picture of it and just send me a picture of what you're talking about, and then I'll have a better idea.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions or thoughts before we study a little bit of text? Yes, Davita's.
Beverly.
Beverly.
I was just wondering if you get the Kveller emails from Kveller?
Kveller?
Yeah. Kveller.
It sounds familiar, but I don't think I get those.
Okay, so Mayim Bialik has become a correspondent for them, and she wrote a column on why she was looking forward to Yom Kippur this year. And she related kind of in a almost comical way how what's happening in the world today relates to the story of Jonah and the whale and the helplessness that Jonah felt when God commanded him to do something he didn't want to do. And she went through and she made a whole story about it, but it was really interesting. I mean, if anybody can, I don't know, Google Kveller and
You probably get it. Bonnie probably
do you
gets
get
it.
it?
You're on mute.
Yeah, Bonnie says she thinks so. She's
Yeah, look
muted,
at-
or else we get feedback, but she thinks she gets it.
It's a really good publication. It's for young women with young families.
Kveller?
Kveller. That's
No,
what we started it.
It's basically for anybody. I think they always have different kinds of articles. But anyway, that was what it was very interesting. And it was just very interesting the way she put it and how she talked about, like I said, relating to what's happening today and the helplessness. Like I was listening to the news and you start feeling helpless about the situation that we're in. And there's really nothing, that any one of us can do. And, sometimes, you can overcome it and sometimes you just let it wash over you, just the situation that we're in. And the way she related it, it was just so, it kind of, at the end of it, you feel like, okay, well, she can get through this, we can all obviously we're all going to get through it, but it was just a good way to relate it.
And remind me, thank you for saying that, because you remind me that there is not only a wealth of now Jewish information out there that is accessible to everybody who's able to get on a computer So not only are there classes that are free and information that you can Google to get the more knowledge, but there is also now a repository of services that every service from every congregation that has been on YouTube is now saved, including all of our services, including our contemporary services. They are now saved on their and our YouTube channel. And anybody can access them. You can review them. If there was a sermon you liked from a congregation, you can share it with a friend. They can watch it as well. All of our services are available to you now. And so I think it's wonderful that we can visit, as Jordan has been doing, any synagogue throughout the world that has this accessibility, and you can see what other congregations are doing and learn from them. Any other thoughts or questions, Beverly?
Oh, just, I was going to say Temple Emmanuel in New York, they have the Stryker Center where they have amazing videos of interviews and services and just, that's another really good resource, Temple Emmanuel.
A lot of good resources. By the way, I don't know if you know that last night, right at the beginning of Kol Nidre, we started getting all these emails from other congregations saying that they've been knocked off the air, essentially. They were having problems getting their services online because the companies that they were using were overwhelmed by so many feeds that they were not, members of the congregation were not able to access them easily. And we're talking about congregations that have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to put together their high holiday Zoom or YouTube services. We spend $79 on our congregation. Excited to buy a microphone, but and we didn't have any problems, except for the first night. Yeah, we only have another hour to get through, and then we're home free. But I'm proud of the fact that we were able to mount our services, and most people were able to access them. Phyllis.
Would you talk a little bit about Sukkot and how we're going to deal with that?
Yeah, because it's Sukkot, we normally don't have services during holidays because we don't have the prayer books or the availability of a number of things to be able to present those services. So we don't have any services during the Sukkot season. What we do encourage people to do, including Simchat Torah, maybe that's part of where your question was going, Phyllis, is congregations are struggling now to look beyond the high holidays to Sukkot season. And how do you present Simchat Torah with the rejoicing with the Torahs and the joy that comes with that? How do you present that on Zoom or on YouTube? So I think that your husband might be able to send some really good links out at the end of this week so that people will be able to find where these services are, all of them free, so that you can feel a sense of community with those services as well.
I'll do that. But I wanted to also mention, since we're talking about websites that you can go to, that Rabbi Jonathan Sachs has a website, the former chief rabbi in the United Kingdom. And he has a series of 4 shorter lectures about the month of Elul and the high holiday season. I think I sent a link about one of them, but you can look on the internet. There's one in particular that I watched this morning before I watched our services. It had to do with looking to the future and the past, and how the holidays, emphasizes more towards the future as far as Rosh Hashanah is concerned, a little bit more towards the past as far as Yom Kippur is concerned, and what that means to us.
Thank you. Yeah, a lot of good stuff out there. Okay, let's do a little study, shall we? Because I want to finish a little early. You know that at 7:10, Ayana is going to be joining us, and we will be doing our Neila service, an abbreviated Neila service. And I want to give you a few minutes to be able to take care of stuff, and so that we can begin at 7:10. So let's take a look at this source sheet again. And I want to ask you a few questions about it because there's some really fascinating stuff going on here. So let's just begin by taking a look here at A. If a person Again, this is Maimonides, 12th century. If a person has transgressed any of the Torah precepts, affirmative or negative, right, you shall versus you shall not commandments, willfully or unintentionally, he must confess before God when repenting and turning away from his sin. This means verbal confession. How does one confess? He says, "O Lord, I have sinned, I have done evil, I have rebelled against you and done this." So this is recognition. This is realizing what we do wrong. Then there's the second stage. I regret now and am ashamed of my act. So the second part of teshuvah, of repentance, is feeling remorse. And then a very important part of this is I will never do it again. So the person who sins and then apologizes and then keeps doing it over and over again, that is not true repentance. Maimonides goes on to say this represents the essential part of repentance and confession. Anybody who confesses even more, it's even more praiseworthy. All right, take a look at B. Perfect repentance is where an opportunity presents itself to the offender and he doesn't do it again. Now, repentance, and this is what I want to discuss with you because there's some interesting stuff going on here. Repentance in Yom Kippur affect atonement only for sins committed against God, as when one has eaten treif. Sins committed against a fellow man is when a person either injured or cursed or robbed his neighbor. He is never pardoned unless he compensates his neighbor and makes apology, even though he has made the compensation. So you pay somebody back. If you wronged somebody, you hurt something of his, you hurt him. The wrongdoer must appease the injured person and ask his pardon. Even if he only annoyed him with words, he must apologize. And here's the part that's really interesting, and beg for forgiveness. So my question to you is, have you ever asked for forgiveness as part of your apology, or do you just say, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I'm not going to do it again"? Do you ever say, "Will you forgive me"? Or has anybody ever said that to you, asked you for forgiveness, and now you're in a quandary because how easily should you forgive? So let me open this up to, and just if you wave, I'll call on you, and that way we'll keep some order here. Just make sure that you remember to unmute. Have you ever asked somebody forgiveness? And if not, why not? And have you ever had somebody ask you for forgiveness and you were in a quandary because you didn't want to let them off so easily? So Phyllis, why don't you start us off?
At a meeting of a book club, I once had I had a roster that I was passing around, and one woman thought it was for her, and I said, I thought I wasn't being offensive, but I said, that's not for you. It's to make any corrections on it and then pass it back. And she was offended because she thought it was for her. And I said it wasn't. Maybe I didn't say it kindly enough. I didn't think I was being offensive, but I did say, please forgive me. And I think I had to say it twice before she accepted my apology.
Thank you, Phyllis. Anybody else have a situation of where you had to ask for forgiveness or somebody asked you and it made things more complicated? So now my question to you is there anything that somebody could do to you that is unforgivable? And if they would say to you, will you forgive me? The answer would be no. What are activities that you would say are unforgivable? Give a list. Start a list.
Too intimate.
So Bonnie says, if you embarrass somebody in front of somebody else, that's unforgivable.
But that is forgivable. But that's a forgivable.
See, now Gladys raises the fact that for some people an act might be unforgivable, and for others they might say that is forgivable. So let's continue our list and see, and then we'll see how much of a difference of opinion we might have on this list. What are unforgivable acts?
I believe that giving false testimony and maybe causing somebody's imprisonment or wrongful punishment, I think that that's unforgivable.
Okay, so the ramifications of an act might make it unforgivable because you end up causing great harm, right? People who call the police and they make a fake 911 call that something is happening in another house, and then it results in a police raid and bodily harm happens because you pranked somebody. Would that be an unforgivable act? Or giving false testimony and leads to the imprisonment of somebody who didn't do it. What else is an unforgivable act? Murder? Rape?
Oh, murder, of course.
All right, so we know that there are big things that people can do that are unforgivable. Yes, and murdering somebody is, Maimonides himself said that was an unforgivable act. But how about a father who abandons the family and goes off with somebody else?
Sure.
Is that an unforgivable act?
Yeah.
Yes.
Dick, Richard.
Verbal threats from one brother against another brother.
So threatening somebody, especially brother against brother. Lou, what do you think?
Now you were saying, and I want to bring it back to that, a father that abandons their family, and that's unforgivable. Or a mother. Or a mother, right? A parent who abandons their family, that's unforgivable. There's no way you can undo the damage that's been done from an act like that.
Jordan, what do you think?
Well, I'm thinking, what if somehow after many years or whatever, the parent returns and apologizes and then tries to do whatever, is willing to do whatever can be done to, if not undo that, but sort of to ameliorate it.
You can reconcile. Damage is still there.
This TV series that I told you I was watching, Away, that's one of the thematic arcs is of the man who abandoned the family, and now years later he's trying to apologize and ask them for forgiveness. What else is an unforgivable act? Because when we talk about bodily harm, that's different from emotional harm or an act of incivility. So now, all right. So now to move the conversation along while you're thinking about what else is an unforgivable act, because I know that some people have tried to apologize and somebody would say no, it was unforgivable, and yet for the person who did the act and they're trying to apologize for it, they look at it and they say, "What? That was you think that was unforgivable?" And there's such a disconnect between two people that one person considers something unforgivable and the other said, I was afraid you were going to not forgive me, because that shows you how that's not fair. Lou, what do you think?
Child abuse. Child abuse. No question about it.
Child abuse. Yeah.
Unforgivable.
Emotional abuse could also, any kind of emotional abuse, right? Spousal emotional abuse, let alone physical abuse. All right, so now the question is this, because what I was just sharing with you is touching on the next thing that Maimonides had to say, namely, how ready should we be to accept somebody's apology? So let's take a look at the next thing that Maimonides writes. So now he says, one must, down here, D, one must not show himself cruel by not accepting an apology. He should be easily pacified and provoked with difficulty. When an offender asks his forgiveness, he should forgive wholeheartedly and with a willing spirit. Even if he caused him much trouble wrongfully, he must not avenge himself. He must not bear a grudge. So let's go back to you. And what do you think about that? How easily should we be able to forgive people? Somebody once said, by the way, and Gladys, let's start with you and then I'll share.
There's a Christian saying, "He who casts the first stone." None of us are free of offending other people or doing horrible things, and we want to be forgiven. We should be able to forgive too.
So it's like the golden rule, do unto others what you want them to do unto you. So if you want somebody to forgive you, you've got to forgive them because you would want to be forgiven yourself, right? Lou.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends. We're talking about the categories of things that you can't be forgiven for. And you can always reconcile with the other person, but the damage is permanent and can't be undone, and that can't be forgiven. And there's all the other categories where you can reconcile and forgive each other and try to make up for whatever damage is not permanent. That's okay. That might take a little bit of doing depending on what it is, but that's okay. There's still that category where the damage is permanent and it can't be undone. It's
So
like
anything
throwing the feathers in the air from the,
Right, or putting the toothpaste back in the tube. That if it's out there. So let me.
I think that we should make every effort to forgive others and recognize how difficult it is to ask for forgiveness. So having taken that step, I think we should give the person credit for that. And I think in the long run, it benefits us as much as the person who is doing and asking for forgiveness, because I think if we let go of the residual hurt or resentment we feel, we're better off for it also.
Interesting. So that's a very brave act to ask for forgiveness because you can get shot down. Somebody could say no and you're kind of left out there. Davida, did I see your hand?
Sermon years and years ago about, doing bad things, saying bad things, and what we're talking about, and you could forgive. But the thing is like you're saying, it's like having a fence.
Can't hear Davida.
Davida, you're kind of, can you get closer to the mic? Because it's a little hard to hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. You given a sermon once years ago about, people doing bad things, and what we're talking about, and forgiving. And it's like having a fence, you put a nail in it, and you have all these nails in there, and then you pull out the nails, but the scar is still there. So you try to forgive and you try to forget, but there are emotional scars that maybe you don't ever get rid of, but at least you've made a step to let the person know that you've forgiven them, but you keep with you. Do you remember? Well, you must remember your I think he does.
I'm gonna have to dig up that sermon again and see what I said.
You're
gonna hold it against me.
Yeah, as a fence. It was a fence, and then it had nails, and then you take them out one at a time.
Yeah, no, I remember. I remember that. That was a good sermon. So I want to add this to the mix. Somebody once said to not forgive somebody is like you eating rat poison and expecting the other person to die. Jordan.
Well, if somebody has wronged you and they've hurt you, even if it at the time, and perhaps there can be reconciliation later, but it is something that you consider to be unforgivable, and the person comes and has ruined your life, which is usually all subjective anyway, but the person comes to you and apologizes and you cannot forgive, then you've ruined two lives. Your life, if you consider to be ruined, and then the person who is trying to make amends, and you've just ruined their life too. It's more so than it being for yourself. I mean, as a community, why ruin two lives when you don't have to?
And maybe that's why the law is in Judaism that you don't have to accept somebody's apology the first time, but once they've asked 3 times on 3 different occasions, will you forgive me? After that, they're done. They don't have to ask for your forgiveness anymore. Now it's on you. I saw some other hands. Richard.
Yeah, as Lou said, there are some things that are 100% unforgivable.
And I guess that's so subjective that it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to figure out because other people may come to us and say, you got to forgive. If I were to ask, let me ask you this question. I want you to look at the screen when I ask you this question. And I've asked you this before, but I'm always amazed at the response. How many of you have somebody in your family not talking to somebody else in your family? Raise your hand.
Not in my family, also.
My family, yeah, really just.
Okay. So, and now let me ask you this question. For those of you, and almost all of you, usually everybody can think of somebody in the family that's not talking to somebody else in the family, making gatherings very, very awkward. But how many of you would say that the cause of the friction that is leading to the lack of communication and civility, you would say it was so long ago and now it's so insignificant? Just forgive and move on so that you're not holding this grudge. How many of you would say you think that they carried this to an extreme and it was something that at this point is already forgivable? That's the subjective nature of forgiveness. All right, we only have a few more minutes, so I want to move the discussion along. Maybe at the Tish on Thursday night, if you want, we can continue this because it's a fascinating subject. But I want to show you where Maimonides takes all of this. So we go back again to his Hilchot Tshuva, his laws of how we are supposed to forgive. And then he talks about free will. He says that free will is granted to everybody. We shouldn't think that people are bad because they're born that way. Everybody has choices that they can make in life. He goes on to say, let it not occur to you that God decrees at birth that a person should be good or they should be evil. That doesn't happen. But then at the very end, he says, do not say that repentance is limited to sinful acts such as robbery and theft. Just as a man must repent of these, so he must scan and search his evil traits, repenting of anger and hatred, envy, scoffing, greed, vainglory, excessive desire for food, and so on. We must repent of these failings as well. They are worse than those big sinful acts. When a person is addicted to them, he finds it hard to get rid of them. So now I want you to think about the little things that we do to other people, not the big things that are unforgivable, but the little things that we do in life that we were presented with the Al-Chetz and the Yashamdu. Would anybody like to share a little thing that you feel is a part of people's lives that you think that they can improve on, and yet they feel that they are, like Maimonides said, set in their ways? They're just born with that anger. They're born with that lackadaisical approach to life. They're born with laziness. They are born with inability to see what's right in front of them, and so they don't see anybody else or their moods or their needs. People are born with inability to listen. They only like to talk. How many of you would say that you know people like that? And let me bring us all back again here. All right, so the little things that we don't see, the big things are easy to see. Are you able to identify the little things in your life, and are we able to actually change the little things that we do? Or are we so set in our ways that we say, no, that's just me, and that's who I am. Just live with it. I'm going to ask you, how many of you live with somebody like that? But I'm not going to ask that. Don't raise your hand. Nobody raise your hand.
That's a good question.
So, Jordan, share.
Okay, I was, and maybe still am, somebody like that, especially when it came to anger. I can tell you of family get-togethers when something basically infinitesimal, but I thought was the greatest hurt to me. And not only was I angry, I tried to make myself angrier than I was already feeling. I had to explode. The problem with that is, there's a problem. And then I would leave or something and say, I'm never going to talk to any of those people again, which is just as stupid as getting angry in the first place, to figure that, well, if I never talk to them, it'll go away. So then what it is, if anything else, those outbursts made me have to find the way back to apologize. And through the years, basically, I guess the answer is don't sweat the small stuff. but I always used to sweat the small stuff.
Thank you, Jordan. I must say you've improved because I have never seen you lose your temper at any board meetings, and I've been watching you for the last 6 or 7 or 8 years.
I'm too tired now.
Show wonderful patience. But Jordan hit on something that's really, really important at the very end there. He said, don't sweat the small stuff. The commandment of you shall take an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, not an eye for a tooth for an eye. The rabbis interpret that to mean that if somebody sues you for damages, if they knocked a tooth out, you should have to pay them as if they knocked a tooth out. It wouldn't be right for them to sue you as if they had knocked your eye out, because an eye is much more valuable than a tooth. There are people in our lives who make mountains out of molehills, who make such a big deal out of things that when you go to them and you say, will you accept my apology? They say, no, what you did was so, I can do a Jackie Mason imitation now, but no, what you did is so terrible and you hurt my feelings, and what happened in my life is something that's gonna ruin my life, and I will never be able to live again with what you just did to me. Come on, that's a good Jackie Mason. You gotta give me some applause for that. All right, but
You're on mute.
Thank you. Mute doesn't keep you from going like that and going like that.
Oh, we're not.
What happens when you are having an appeal to a snowflake, and that snowflake is making such a big deal out of something that you did that they will not accept your apology? And how do you handle that? What do you do? Lou?
Well, 3 times. That's it. You try 3 times, try nicely. If it doesn't work, you've done it. You've done the best you can.
Yeah, 3 times and you've done what you could.
Yeah.
But the opposite side of the coin is people who make molehills out of mountains. When somebody comes and they ask for your apology and they apologize and they ask for your forgiveness, and they don't realize how much they did hurt you and what the ramifications are of what they said was no big deal. Sometimes people have to be woken up to realize that there are serious consequences to behavior that cannot be minimized. And that's also a part of what we need to recognize in ourselves. Are we snowflakes, or is the person who is hurting us, doing things to us, affecting us in a way that they just don't realize it, that they are just minimizing the effects they have on people's lives and to devastating effect? Is anything that I'm saying registering with any of you? Like, maybe I should apologize for what I did, or maybe I should take more seriously when they say, no, you hurt me too badly, and appreciate that. So the point of this whole discussion is we need to realize the magnitude of our behavior, whether it's enormous or slight. But we also need to realize that when somebody asks for forgiveness, we have to weigh lots of the issue to make our response. And Maimonides says, try to be forgiving, but we also have to realize that there are acts that we can do, and we need to stop it before we do it, because then our insensitivity and our lack of seeing what's right in front of us can also lead to devastating effect. Any last thoughts or questions or comments? Who wants to unmute yourself and share? Stan Schroeder.
I wanted to mention, we were talking before about grudges, that, grudges is such a personal thing that it can actually consume the person that's bearing the grudge. And it's certainly too many people I know are too focused on the negatives, the grudges that they bear. And it seems to me that it's only makes sense and purpose to let go for your own sake.
Very important words, Dan. Don't hold a grudge.
I think it's also important to realize that apologizing to those a person has wronged is an important step in recovery. In any of the programs of recovery, from whether it's drugs or whatever, that is one of the important steps, is going to those you wronged while you were under the influence of something and apologizing. So that's, kind of stresses the importance of apologizing for your own recovery.
Yeah, thank you. Good, important words. Let me share one more thing with you, and this may help some of you. The rabbis also say, don't evaluate a motivation. When somebody apologizes, it's wrong, the rabbis say, to say, I don't like the way you said that. It doesn't sound like you really mean it. You don't sound contrite enough. Try again. Now, yeah, there may be some obvious cases, right? I'm a teacher, right? Every now and then I'll say to one, the teacher says to one kid, say you're sorry. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. But the rabbis also said when somebody actually says to somebody an apology or words, the rabbis say you could help yourself by just accepting it. And don't wonder if they said it right or well enough for you or with enough sense of meaning and purpose. Just accept it, because you don't know what it took for that person to say even those words. Some people are not really good at expressing themselves. And it sounds like they may be frivolous, and it sounds like they may actually not feel that what they just heard was that important or said was that important. But don't evaluate what motivates people to say what they say. Just accept it. So we end with, and Stan actually shared this already, but I'm going to share it one more time. A wonderful comment that Ruth Bader Ginsburg said. I think it was her mother-in-law the night before she got married. She was given this advice. Every now and then you have to be deaf. Every now and then I understand her to be saying, somebody may say something in the heat of passion or of anger, and they over exaggerate something. Every now and then you have to pretend you just didn't hear it. And then life can continue, because sometimes people say what they don't really mean to say. And when we pretend we didn't hear it, then life itself can move on, because we will be much more forgiving ourselves. I thank you all for coming to our discussion. This has been wonderful. Rachel, you see your niece and nephew over there. Shane is there and Aaron is there. Do you see them?
Well, where are they exactly?
So Rachel, we just
Can you
finished our
hear me?
discussion. This is my sister Rachel down here, or wherever
Hi,
she's.
everyone. I think can people hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay.
So she's in New York.
I'm just coming in for the last bit because I couldn't tear myself away. So I'm sorry to join you so late, but I figured
No, that's
better
okay.
than not coming. Yeah, go ahead.
No
Sorry,
apologies.
Dave, go ahead.
And it's late for you there in New York. So and actually you already did Neila in New York, but we're gonna do it in 10 minutes, in 10 minutes.
Okay.
So everybody, the screen is going to stay here because this is the same spot. Don't sign off and then try to come back again. Just stay where you are. Take a couple of minutes just to get yourself ready. And Neila will begin in 5 minutes. 5 minutes for Neila. And I'm going to put my robot.
Oh, I thought, how did you make it bigger?
So Shane, are you there? Can you hear me? Is that Aaron? Hey.
Oh, pin video.
Anybody else from the family?
We're all your
family. We're all family. That's true.
I'm here too, Rachel.
Pardon?
Good to see you.
Oh, it's great to see you. Should I be doing something with my mute or unmute or?
Not yet. David will mute everybody in a few minutes.
Where are you, Bonnie? I have no idea.
I'm
where you-
upstairs in the study. David is across from me on the other desk. And now I'm echoing.
Oh, there you are. You're right. I see. Okay. Hi, Bonnie.
Hi. Oh, I didn't know that's what you meant.
How many of you is it dark outside and you're ready to eat?
What's that dark outside?
Hang in there. Just a few more minutes. I got Havdalah all set to go here.
It is definitely dark here.
So Ayana Haviv has joined us, and we will do an abbreviated Neila service in just 2 more minutes. I must apologize to all of you that I could not find a picture of our sanctuary when it had the white flowers for Yom Kippur. My picture still has the colorful flowers for Rosh Hashanah. Sorry. Miriam is waving. Who are you, Miriam?
He's on mute.
Oh, Miriam Alperin. Remember Mimi Kadushin?
Oh, God, of course I remember Mimi. The artist.
Yeah, so Miriam, you're muted, so we can't hear you, but you remember Rachel from when she was about 4 years old.
I think for many, many years you were teaching me arts and crafts. I think I was a lot older than that. She can't hear me?
She can hear you, but we can't hear her. Miriam, we can't hear you. You're muted.
Miriam, put your unmute yourself. Unmute yourself.
No.
Can you unmute yourself?
If you have a keyboard, push the space bar on your keyboard and it'll unmute you.
Rabbi, since you didn't change the flowers, we forgive you.
That's an easy
I should have
forgiveness.
said that. Will you forgive me?
You asked 3 times.
Oh, perfect.
Yes, we forgive you.
That was a line I should have thought of myself. Very good.
Picture with white flowers. That's the question of flowers, not flowers.
There's another a line you said, Rabbi, that I thought was, I hope was limited to the video conferencing experience when you said, if I don't mute Bonnie, I get feedback.
That's very funny.
When my family saw Jordan on the screen last night, they said, "Who's that rabbi? What show is that?" And I don't remember that beard.
It's my quarantine beard. And now I have to keep the beard because I sunk $20 into a beard trimmer.
I forgive you.
We haven't done it for a couple of years now.
We're going to be hearing more people asking for forgiveness from this congregation than.
Yeah.
Very nice.
All right. All right. Well, hope
2 minutes, we shall begin.
Healthy year.
There is talking, so we're going to mute Steve. Oh, there we go.
No, he hasn't announced it.
Some of you may remember when we used to have high holiday services at the Temple of Beth Ami site. I was able to go backstage every now and then and go outside in order to see whether the stars were in the sky yet. And there was also a bathroom there too. So if you who remember the old Temple of Beth Ami, it was like my old private
Yes.
room. And I'm looking out my window now. I've never been able to do this before. And I'm almost seeing enough stars for us to be able to conclude. So that brings us now then to 7:10 and our beginning of our Neila service. So Neila is the very last service of Yom Kippur. It is all about gates and about gates opening and closing, and in the fact that we want for this last moment to have the opportunity.
Rabbi, you're muted.
You're muted.
Okay. What I just said was so brilliant. I don't know if I'm, no, don't. No, that's okay. See, the problem was Bonnie could hear me, but she could hear me, right? She's right over there. But so what I said was, now we come to Neila, and Neila is our opportunity to have this last few moments to be able to forgive ourselves or to be able to ask for forgiveness from God. And that's because the gates are closing. The gates of the day are closing. The gates of the opportunity for teshuvah are closing. And so we begin with the Amidah, and I'm going to ask you, if you can, to please rise. We turn in our High Holiday Prayer Book. If you don't have one, you can just listen in to page 706. Page 706, the Amidah for Neila. And Ayana Haviv has joined us to be able to lead us.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Melohei Avoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Melohei Yaakov האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות, ומביא גואל לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מסוד חכמים ונבונים, ומלמד דעת מבינים, אבטחה פי בתפילה ובתחנונים, לחלות ולחנן פני מלך המלך הרחמים, מוחל וסולח לעוונים. זוכרנו לחיים, מלך חפץ בחיים, וחותמינו בספר החיים, למענך אלוהים חיים, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני,
Baruch Shema.
מגן אברהם.
Amen. Please be seated, and we continue on the top of page 708.
אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיים את אימתה, רב להושיע. מכלכל חיים לחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומידו מלך, מלך מרים ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני בחיי המתים.
Amen.
אתה הקדוש ושמך הקדוש וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלע. ובכן ולכתה לקדשו כי אתה אלוהינו מלך מוחל וסולח. פתחו לנו שערי צדק נבוא ונודיע. וכן תן פחדך אדוני אלוהינו על כל מעשיך ואימתך על כל מה שבראת ואימתך על כל מה שבראת ותראוך כל המעשים וישתחוו לפניך כל הברורים ויעשו כולם אגודה אחת לעשות רצונך בלבב שלם כמו שידענו אדוני אלוהינו שהשלטון לפניך עוז בידך וגבורה בימינך עוז בידך וגבורה בימינך ושמך נורא על כל מה שבראת ושמך נורא על כל מה שבראת. ובכן תן כבוד אדוני לעמך תהילה ליראך ותקווה לדורשך תהילה ליראך ותקווה לדורשך ופתחון למייחלים לך שמחה לארצך שמחה לארצך וששון לירך וצמיחת קרן לדוד עבדך וצמיחת קרן לדוד עבדך ועריכת נר לבן ישי משיחך במהרה בימינו. ובכן צדיקים יראו וישמחו בשירים יעלוזו בחסידים ברנה יגילו בשירים יעלוזו בחסידים ברנה יגילו ועולת תקפוץ ביה בכל הרישה כולה כעשן תכלה כי תעביר ממשלי זדון מן הארץ ותמלוך את אדוני לבדך על כל מעשיך ככתוב בדברי קודשך ימלוך אדוני לעולם אלוהיך ציון לדור ודור hallelujah.
We continue on page 730, page 730, Petach Lanu Sha'ar.
Petach lanu sha'ar be'et neilat sha'ar kifana hayom השמש יבוא ויפנה, נהבו שעריך, אנה אלנה, שנה סלחנה, מחלנה, חמולנה, רחמנה, כפירנה, כיבוש חית ועוון.
Open for us the gates, even as they are closing. The day is waning, the sun is low, the hour is late, a year has slipped away. Let us enter the gates at last. Lord, have compassion, pardon, forgive, take pity, grant us atonement, help us to conquer our iniquity and sin. We continue on page 734, the third paragraph.
יחבינו צל ידו תחת כנפי השכינה, חון יחון כי יבחון, ליב עקוב להכינה, קומנה אלוהינו עוזינה, אדוני לשוועתנו האזינה, ישמיעני סלחתי, יושב בסתר עליון, במין ישלב בשור, עמני ואביון, בשבנו אליך נוראות, בצדק תענינו, אדוני יהי עוזר לנו. רחם נא קהל עדת ישורון, סלח ומחל עוונם, והושיעו אלוהי שינו, שערי שמיים פתח, ואוצרך הטוב לנו תפתח, תושיע, תושיע, והריבות תמתח, והושיענו אלוהי שינו. אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו, סלח לנו, מחל לנו, כפר לנו.
Page 738.
כי אנו עמך ואתה אלוהינו, אנו בניך ואתה אבינו, אנו עבדיך ואתה אדוננו, אנו כחלליך ואתה חלקנו, אנו נחלתך ואתה גורלנו, אנו צונך ואתה רואינו, אנו חרמך ואתה נותרנו, אנו פעולתך ואתה יוצרנו, אנו רעייתך ואתה דודנו, אנו סגולתך ואתה קרובנו, אנו עמך ואתה מלכנו, אנו מעמך
rise one last time for the Ashamnu, the Vidui, page 740.
Ay, 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 ay. Ashamnu.
Ashamnu.
Bagadnu.
Bagadnu.
Gazalnu.
Gazalnu.
Dibarnu dofi.
Dibarnu dofi.
Ay, 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 ay. Hevinu.
Hevinu.
Vehirshanu.
Vehirshanu.
Zadnu.
Zadnu.
Hamasnu.
Hamasnu.
Tafalnu sheker.
Tafalnu sheker.
Ay, 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 ay. Ya'atznu ra.
Ya'atznu ra.
Zavnu.
Kizavnu.
Latznu.
Latznu.
Maradnu.
Maradnu.
Niatznu.
Niatznu.
Sararnu.
Sararnu.
Avinu.
Avinu.
Pashanu.
Pashanu.
Sararnu.
Sararnu.
Ishinu ore.
Kishinu ore.
Ay, 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 ay. Hashanu.
Ashanu.
Ichatnu.
Ichatnu.
Yavnu.
Yavnu.
Ahinu.
Ayinu.
Titanu.
Titanu. And we continue with the Avinu Malkeinu, page 750. We remain standing.
Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, ein lanu melech ela ata. Avinu Malkeinu, Chaneinu v'aneinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chaneinu v'aneinu, ki ein banu masim. Asimanu, tzedaka v'chesed. Asimanu, tzedaka v'chesed, ve'hoshienu. Asimanu, tzedaka v'chesed. Asimanu, tzedaka v'chesed, ve'hoshienu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chaneinu v'aneinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chaneinu v'aneinu. Ki ein banu masim.
We now have come to Havdalah, and I'll invite you to remain standing just for a couple of more minutes, and then we will blow the shofar to signify the end of the holiday. So, Ayana, you were unmuted. You were muted by accident, so you'll have to mute yourself. I'm going to see if I can move this around so you can see our Havdalah setup. And I'm going to light the Havdalah candle. What can we see? Can you see the candle? Here we go. Okay. Hine Yeshuati Eftach v'lo Efchad Kezi v'zimrat Adonai v'hili li Yeshua Ushaftem mayim b'sason mimayanei haYeshua Adonai haYeshua lamcha v'rchatecha sela Adonai svod imanu miskavlanu Elohei Yaakov sela Adonai svod Ashrei Adam botei Yachbach Adonai Hoshea HaMelech Yaneinu b'yom kareinu La Yehudim hayTorah v'simcha v'sahason v'hikar Kein tieh lanu kos yeshuot asa Uv'shem Adonai ekra. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei miorei ha'esh.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamavdil bein kodesh v'chol bein or l'choshech bein Yisrael la'amin bein yom hashvi l'sheshet yemei ha'ma'aseh. Baruch atah Adonai hamavdil bein kodesh l'chol.
Amen.
Oh, that was good. Let us now turn back to page 752 as Ayana leads us in the Shema Baruch Shem and Adonai Hu Elohim. And then she's going to give a big Tikiyah Gedolah, and I will blow the shofar, signifying the end of the holiday. Page 752.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed. Adonai Hu HaElohim, 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 Adonai Hu HaElohim. Tekiyah Gedolah.
L'shana haba b'Yerushalayim, 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 l'shana haba b'Yerushalayim. A Hardi Yeshikoach to Ayana Chavi for her lovely renditions of our liturgy. A very special.
It was wonderful.
To all who were involved in creating this wonderful ceremony and service, and especially to my wife, Bonnie, who has been one of our major tech people and has been making sure that everything has been going smoothly. I wish everyone a wonderful year, a healthy year, a year that finally frees us so that by the time we get to Pesach, we are truly free. And I hope everybody will also enjoy your holiday of Sukkot that begins next Shabbos, and we can talk a little bit more about it next Thursday night around the Rabbi's Tish. I wish everybody a wonderful, wonderful year, a joyous year, shalom, and drive home carefully.
Thank you, Ayana.
Oh,
Thank you. It was wonderful.
Thank you, Cantor.
Thank you. It was wonderful.
Wonderful.
I'll take Lashana Ba'a in West Hills if we can get there all together.
Cantor. It was
And I'll go for Lashana Haba, but de Toledo.
Yeah.
It was wonderful.
Thank you
Water.
Thank you.
Welcome. Well, it's time to eat. So everybody go break your fast.
Let's eat.
I'm going to
Thank
close
you.
this down
Thank
here
you.
because I'm
Thank
hungry.
you,
and
Rabbi.
you're not.
Thank you.
A wonderful year for everybody.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Down.
Take care, Miriam. You're muted. I can't hear you, but
Simple Happy New Year. Wish you were here. Love you.
Miriam,
mute.
can you unmute yourself?
Simple mute.
Not yet.
Tova from Shoshana.
Shana Tova.
Tova, Shoshana.
Not Tova.
And Ed.
Okay, let's go.
Shana Tova Umituka.
Oh,
Okay, now
Shana Tova Shoshana. Rachel. Rachel, where do we see you? Where are you living?
Right here now.
This is
muted,
it's Mimi Alperin. You see me?
Hi.
Rachel, you're muted.
Rachel is muted.
Rachel, you're muted. Rachel, you're muted.
No, Rachel, since she's 4 years old.
I'm muted now?
Yes, now you're unmuted.
Okay.
She's unmuted now.
Mimi, you taught me arts and crafts for like 20 years.
Right on. That's right. Rachel, you
Listen,
look marvelous. You know,
So do you, and I remember you with your long, beautiful hair.
oh,
And it's
God.
still like that.
Well, it's neither long nor beautiful, but anyhow, dear. Rachel, tell me, you, unless you don't want to tell everybody, how old are you? You don't have to.
70, I'm 75.
Are you really?
Now I'm the same, about the same age as David. We're exactly
I caught up with her, yeah.
Yeah, you know, I know you're like months apart. Anyhow, well, I'm 94.
Oh my God.
My.
Oh, you look absolutely fantastic. Are you still doing art? Are you still doing artistic things?
No, I'm not.